Ronnie, it's great to see you again. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you.
It's so last time we met was here a year ago.
Amazing.
In Copenhagen.
Yeah.
I would love to start our chat with what's changed between now and then. Has there been any significant changes in the Nordics that you've observed?
Well, the big change is AI. It's not so much about the Nordics, but even in the meetings of the Nordics, I was at a breakfast meeting today with a very big fintech from the Nordic region, from Denmark, and we were just talking about AI. They're not an AI fintech, but they're using AI. They're using Gen AI, LLMs. So that's the big topic of discussion, and I'll be on stage very soon talking about just that topic.
Very soon. I know also something big that happened in between then and now.
Yes.
You published a book.
I did publish a book.
The Future of Money.
Yes, it's called Future Money. It's about the past, present, and future of money.
Right. Okay. So then I would love to understand.
Yes.
Based on what you say in the book, what role do big tech companies now play in financial services?
So big tech companies, think of them as distribution. In the old days, or when maybe we were young, or when our parents were in clients of banks, or our grandparents, they went to a branch. Now we live on our phone.
Right.
And the phone is normally made by one big tech company. The software we're using is usually made by another big tech company. So the phone became the distribution, not the branch, in the last 10, 15 years. Big tech controls the phone, but it controls every waking minute of our lives if we're not careful, right? So big tech in finance, they don't want to become banks, but they are distributors of everything, including financial services.
Right, and that's really quite interesting, because at some point in the whole evolution, we saw that some of the big tech companies were trying to make a play in financial services, and they saw that's too much regulation here. Let's go back to what we know how to do.
Yeah.
So maybe the question I have for you now is, we've seen the evolution of the relationship between financial institutions, big techs, and fintechs change over time.
Yeah.
How's the openness of financial institutions today when it comes to fintech and working with other tech companies?
Sure. So I would think of fintechs and banks as, just like banks and other banks, as frenemies, friends and enemies. So a bank competes with another bank, but they also collaborate. There are a lot of things that happen in financial services that if banks don't collaborate inside a country or cross-border, things wouldn't work. But they're also competing at the same time.
Right.
And banks and fintechs are like that. They're competing and collaborating. And when you've been in the industry, as long as I've been in the industry, you realize, yes, there's competition, but there's also, it's friendly competition. And so I call them frenemies. The banks need the fintechs because often a lot of innovation happens in fintechs or big techs, and the bank insources that innovation. But then the fintech needs the bank because usually the bank has scale and the clients. And so the banks are still where you go when you want to store your money, when you want to get credit. The bank is usually the end provider, the licensed end provider of the product. So friendly competitors, friends and enemies.
Right, and I guess at the end of the day, is that frenemies, competition, collaboration that raises the overall standard of the industry.
Absolutely,
right?
And it's an ecosystem. You need all kinds of players. But like, I don't know, you go to the zoo and you see lots of different types of animals, right? Random comment, but in finance it's the same. You don't just have a lion or a tiger, you have lots and lots of different players.
Right.
Big banks, small banks, fintechs, overseas players, big techs, and it all comes together to create this menagerie.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned AI. Of course, it's inescapable, right? It's everywhere. What is the main thing that we need to know about AI? I know also Citi has recently published a report on it. What should we know about it?
Sure. So in our report, we say AI will definitely change one thing, which is for the client, be it a small business client or a consumer client, AI is hugely significant. It helps the client. It empowers the client. It gives the small client, the kind of knowledge that usually bigger companies have or wealthy clients have. And that's part of this journey of, you could say, fintech, which has been about, they say democratizing, but it's really helping the smaller client, giving more power to the individual. And that's what the technology revolution of the last 20, 25 years has been about. And I think AI is just the latest leg of that. But there are some things that don't change. I don't think overnight the number of people working in banks is going to change that much.
No.
A lot of people are worried about their jobs disappearing. I always say, look at the jobs we do in our industry today, very different to 50 years ago. If our grandparents were here today and we told them our jobs, they'd be like, what is that job you do, right? So jobs will change faster than before. We'll need to be ready, and companies should hopefully be training their employees to be ready. We as individuals need to be ready as well. So it's not business as usual, But the future will look somewhat like the past. We'll still need financial services. I don't know who'll provide them, but we're still going to need financial services, and that's the industry we're all part of.
Right, indeed. And now, let's switch a little bit to talk about the future of money itself.
Yes.
I'd love to hear your take on tokenizations, because we keep hearing a lot more about tokenizing everything.
Yeah.
What's your take on that?
So in the last year or two, the big changes have been twofold. One is on the institutional investor side, particularly in America. You've got a lot of big institutions saying we want to sell digital assets or crypto native products, and they've had the regulatory permission to do that recently. So that's one big development. The other development is both institutional investors and companies, blue chip companies, saying, hey, can we explore the use of blockchain as a new rail? Not to replace the existing road, but as a parallel.
Right.
And we're seeing a lot more work on that, but it takes time. And the challenge often is that whenever you're going from innovation to production or industrialization, that takes a lot of time, a lot of hard work, a lot of details, and we underestimate how long it takes. And then we go, oh, it's not happening, let's move on. But change, we overestimate change in the short term, we underestimate in the long term, and blockchain will be the same.
Right. Well, Ronit, I'm looking forward to listening to you on stage, and I'm already looking forward to next year when we get a chance to catch up again.
Before that, come and listen to me on stage, and I hope you read the book.
I'll definitely be there. Thanks, Ronit.
Thank you.